baseball lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
The Baseball Writers of America are the biggest joke in America.
America.
I saw my favorite stat. So to bring everybody up, David Ortiz made it in. Known steroid user David Ortiz made it in. And Alex Rodriguez did not. Barry Bonds did not. And Roger Clemens did not. All also known steroid users. But then I saw an amazing stat about Barry, because Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens now can't get in through that vote. They have to go through other committees and other things. And I saw the greatest stat that I could have seen. If you were to make every single one of Barry Bonds' home runs and out, he would still have a better career OPS than David Ortiz. This is a joke. This is a travesty. Anybody who didn't vote for them, give up the vote. If you left your whole thing blank or you only voted for one person and it was somebody who doesn't deserve to be in the hall, you lose your vote. I don't know why MLB allows this to be the situation. You go to the NFL, there's like a committee, there's like this whole thing. We go through all this stuff. And you know who gets to get to the hall? The right people. It is very rare that you look at the NFL Hall of Fame and you go, they really that guy doesn't deserve it, was never an elite player. But also, we've talked about it many times on the show. You got guys like Kurt Warner and Terrell Davis in. Both of those guys had short careers. Terrell Davis, I think, only played 7 years in the league. He was a Pro Bowler 4 times. But he has some of the greatest performances ever, won multiple Super Bowls, was an elite player, and his body broke down on him and took him out of the game. Still a Hall of Famer. Deserves it. People should remember who the hell he is. They get it right. Baseball never gets it right.
Yeah, it's I was hoping this would be some type of celebratory podcast when it was time for the votes to come out. I watched it, and seeing the percentages too, it wasn't even really close. Bonds got 66%, and we were looking at it before. I think it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, we were looking at the public ballots, and Bonds had 78% or 79% of the public ballots up to that point. So I was hopeful, and I was listening to some reporters discuss it who said that they did vote for Ortiz and Bonds, and one of the things that stuck out to me, and I think we've discussed it before, and it's a very real thing, is these guys rely on being relevant to feel like they're getting their job done, feel like they're important in the sport that they report on, whether it be on Twitter or whatever news platform they work for. Their opinion being important to people and causing conversation is what their job is all about to a certain extent, other than reporting news. And I think for the reporters that have this power to be able to vote, yes, I'm sure they enjoy it and it's cool for them, but I feel like a lot of these guys are getting really they're caring about it too much, because it was very clear that the popular opinion of the baseball world, other than the writers, it seems like, is that no one cared about the steroid thing. It is what it is. Vote them in. They did stuff that was amazing regardless of steroids or not. But it seemed like the writers were more, oh no, we're actually the ones that make the decision, and our opinion and how we actually feel it will be the filter here. You're the popular vote.
But they didn't vote. They didn't keep out known steroid user David Ortiz.
That's what's so it was a very real he did steroids. Bonds is suspected, whatever. Clemens fought it, and obviously Sosa, I guess, was known, but kind of
Sosa to me doesn't matter. I said this repeatedly.
For sure.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer
in the conversation just because he had 600 home runs.
But I don't think, again, I think it's a dumb stat. Curt Schilling, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, and he's off the ballot. And I've said this repeatedly.
I'm kind of whatever.
He's a Hall of Very Good. I don't look at it, and just because he played for forever doesn't mean that the guy deserves to be in. He's a really, really good player. His sock is in the Hall of Fame, right? People will see his name and see things about him forever for as long as it is, because it's part of the fabric of what the game is. But when I look at Curt Schilling, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Fame pitcher. That's just not who he never was the best. He wasn't the best pitcher on his own team for a while, right? Like he was always either behind Randy Johnson, he was behind Pedro. Like there's not a situation where I can look at him and be like, you were the guy, really, really. Mm-hmm. Like you never were the guy, really, really. So that dude's out. And Barry and Roger get 66% roughly both, which already means that the majority of the baseball writers did want them to be in. Mm-hmm. The people who didn't vote for him but instead were the 13-14% of people, I guess it ends up being the 12%. The 12% of people who did vote for David and didn't vote for Barry. I got to hear the reasoning. Like, I got to hear it. We know for a fact that David Ortiz failed a test for steroids, mm-hmm. but it was a player opt-in. You can do it, but you don't have to worry about it. It leaked. He definitely did it. Definitely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Barry, if you want to say that you believe the exact same thing, Barry did it and did it so much better that we just said the stat before. You could take away every single one of his home runs from his career, and his OPS would be higher than David Ortiz. The fact that he's every one of his best things he could have done, the highest value hit you can have, could become the lowest value hit you could have. And he still's a better player than David Ortiz. I don't understand what we're doing here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is a real thing that I think is kind of getting overlooked. People like David Ortiz more in just the entirety of the media. Barry Bonds was not a well-liked person. He didn't treat the media well. I mean, obviously, I wasn't media. But
now you're being a son of a bitch because of the fact that he didn't like you.
Absolutely, but that is the problem we're dealing with these writers in particular. And I think it has a lot to. I don't know how many writers played baseball at a high level, but I got to be honest with you, I don't think it's a ton of them.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.